Hello and welcome to the Fit and Free podcast. This is a podcast for women who want it all, to feel strong and confident in their bodies, as well as enjoying a sneaky mug on a Friday night. I'm an exercise physiologist and sports nutritionist, here to teach you how to achieve your body goals without food and your body controlling your life. So let's jump in. Hello you guys and welcome back to another episode of the Fit and Free podcast. I'm so excited about today's episode because it's one of my favorite things to talk about, and that's of course building muscle. But not just building muscle in any area, we are talking about abs, core, getting a toned midsection. And you know, I talk about like food relationship and having a healthy relationship with food all of the time. And my other love to talk about is, of course, getting fit, toned, building muscle, looking lean, looking fit. It's like my two favorite things that I love to help women with. So I'm excited about today's episode because that is exactly where we're going. We're talking about how to get sculpted, how to get snatched in the midsection. And I'm excited about this because I wish I had this information 8 years ago, because I probably would be so snatched and so lean. But, you know, I spent the years of my life of 16 to 26 being afraid of carbohydrates, being afraid of food, and just being afraid in general. And I just, wasn't getting anywhere because my relationship with food was so bad. But anyway, we digress. So today we are going to be speaking about how to get snatched, how to train your core, how to train your midsection, because we are freaking here for it. So throughout this episode, we are going to be talking about why you potentially might not be seeing the results that you want in your core and what you need to do in order to change that. And of course, we are using science-backed principles here because that's what we do. It's always going to be an evidence-based approach because it's so wild to me. I have been speaking to so many of you and it's so crazy how much P.S.S is on social media and is on TikTok and how much that has an influence on all of us. So I am excited to bring some evidence-based stuff for you guys so you can really understand how to do it from a principle level so that you can, see the results that you want. So if you are someone who is freaking frustrated because you're eating clean, you're being good, you're cutting carbs, you're exercising consistently, but you're still not happy with your midsection, then we need to chat. Because it breaks my soul that so many women are putting in so much effort but not seeing the results they want. And it comes down to, it's because you guys are focusing on the wrong things. And this is why this stuff is so powerful, is because you can just make some small, simple swaps to your routines. And, you're putting in the same amount of effort, but you're actually seeing the results. So first of all, let's talk to some common mistakes that I see that people make when it comes to toning up their midsection. The first mistake is they are training their abs every single day or 5 times a week, and when they're training their abs, they're taking work like little ab circuits from influencers or YouTube videos, things like that, and thinking that doing those circuits are going to help them tone up their midsection. However, these little circuits, more often than not, they get turned into a little high intensity workout. And the problem with that is that, whilst yes, it might help you burn an extra few calories, the ab workout turns into cardio. And here's the catch with these sort of things is that you're not taking your abs close enough to muscular failure to build real definition. Because what happens, it turns into more cardio work than core work. And that ain't going to build your abs. The second mistake is that people just think that doing sit-ups alone is going to help them train their core. However, there is multiple muscles within the core, and doing sit-ups alone is not going to hit each one of those muscle groups. When you think about the core, it's not just your six-pack, it's your whole trunk. So your lower back, your transverse abdominis, your obliques, your rectus abdominis, all make up the core itself. So it's important to, when you are training the core, you're hitting all of the core muscles, not only for stability, but also to making sure that you're hitting the muscles in order for them to grow. The next mistake that I see people make is that believing that you need to be at such an extreme low body fat percentage to see definition in your core. And I understand this mistake is because we have been taught from day dot is that abs are made in the kitchen. You've got to be super shredded in order to see your abs. However, yes, of course, diet plays a role. Yes, of course it does. However, you don't actually need to chase such low body fat percentages to get a defined core. What you actually need to focus on is making sure that you've built up enough muscle in your core so you can actually see it. It goes for any muscle group, right? I can even use myself as an example. I wasn't training my core effectively for a really long time because essentially I was making these mistakes. I was doing these influencers, little core circuits. I was doing 10 minutes of abs after every one of my workouts. And I was wasn't really seeing the results that I wanted. It wasn't until I implemented the stuff that I'm going to speak to is when I really started to see my core change. And for me right now, it's I'm not sitting at an extreme low body fat percentage because my goal right now is building muscle, not getting super shredded and super lean. So I'm sitting at the highest body fat percentage that I've sat in for a pretty long time, and I'm loving it. It's so good because I'm progressing with my training. I'm getting stronger. I'm seeing my glutes grow. But at the same time, I'm also seeing the muscles in my core grow, which is also, so therefore it's actually making my midsection look leaner than it ever has before, is because I'm starting to build muscle in that area. And that is the kicker. It's no matter how much body fat you lose, if you don't have muscle built in your abs, then it's going to be really hard to see your abs. And, signs this is potentially happening to you is that, you've lost weight and you look toned in other areas. Maybe you look toned on your shoulders, maybe you look toned on your glutes or whatever body part, but then your midsection's lacking. Then I would be looking at this. It potentially could be because you haven't built enough muscle in your core. So therefore you can't see it at the percentage of body fat that you're at. Because that's the thing. It's at the end of the day, body composition comes down to how much muscle mass you have versus how much fat tissue you have on your body. And, people make the misconception. They think that, weight loss equals fat loss. And if I just lose weight, then I will look more toned. However, if you are, you're not building muscle or / you haven't built any muscle, no matter how much weight you lose, you're still not going to look toned because you're going to have you're still going to have a higher level of body fat. So that's why it's really, really important to be looking at your core just as any other muscle group. Then the last mistake that people make is they're just skipping abs altogether and not training them. And I too made this mistake for a really long time because I got taught, I was oh, you don't have to train your abs. You can, train your abs with your compound lifts and things like that. You don't have to do any isolated core work. And for a while I believed that, and to an element I still do. Doing compound lifts, and if you're not sure what a compound lift is, that's a deadlift, a squat, a bent over row, a bench press, thing that is using multi-muscle groups. Because essentially, you have to, when you're lifting properly and strength training properly, you've got to brace your core. Because if you don't know how to brace your core, then you're not going to have good form with your exercises, right? So yes, there's absolutely an element of training your core muscles. However, when you're training your core muscles through compound lifts, it's more of training them for stability rather than hypertrophy, which stability is so great. It's so good to have a stable core because that's going to help us, just with everyday life. It's also going to help us improve our training. However, if we're looking at it from an aesthetic point of view, then it's also it's important that we are training the muscles in the core just like we're training any other muscle group. Because it's just thinking, it's if you applied that principle and that thought process to any other muscle, your shoulders, for example, it's just don't train your shoulders and just, get to a low enough body fat percentage and you'll see your shoulders. But that's not how it goes. You know what I mean? So that's why it's actually important to making sure that you're doing the right type of training to tone up your midsection. So here is the truth bomb for you guys. And this is what I want you to write down on a piece of pen and paper. visible abs, toned midsection, having a snatched waist, it comes from a combination of effective ab training, not just endless reps and like 10-minute little circuits, and a balanced nutritional strategy, of course, to reveal what you've built, right? Because this is when I talk about the toning equation, there's two parts of the toning equation. There's the muscle building side and the losing fat side, right? To be toned, you have to have you got to build a certain amount of muscle, and then you got to lose the fat in order to see the muscle. That is how, you get a toned physique, right? So therefore, with your core, with your abs, have you taken the time to actually build muscle, or are you always just focusing on losing fat and hoping that is going to get you the look that you want? Because if you continue to make these mistakes, it's that, it's literally the definition of insanity. It's like showing up every day, doing the same thing and not getting the results that you want. So how do we do it? How do we tone up our midsection and get snatched? So like I've already said in this episode, it is just like training any other muscle group. You need to be training your core like you're training your glutes. And that comes down to mastering the training principles in order to build muscle. No matter where you are in your journey, whether you are trying to lose fat, you're trying to build muscle, you're trying to body recomp, the goal of your exercise, and that goes for ab training as well, it should always be prioritizing building muscle. And the reason being is because if you're not, then if you are in a deficit or if you're in a surplus, then you're at risk of losing weight in the form of muscle and fat. So you're just going to look smaller without any change in your body composition. In comparison, if you're prioritizing building muscle with your exercise, if you're in a deficit, you're going to lose majority of it from body fat, which is obviously what we want. And then on the other side of that, if you're eating in a calorie surplus, if you're not prioritizing building muscle, then you're going to gain weight in the form of body fat. And of course, we don't want that either. So that's why with your exercise routine, it always needs to be about building muscle regardless of your phase, because that's going to be the key difference between your body composition actually looking different and just like losing weight, putting it back on, losing weight and putting it back on without your body composition actually changing. Your exercise routine is so important. And I can't stress that to you guys enough. Okay. So how do we do it? Of course, training your abs, just like any other muscle group, the first principle that we need to master is frequency of training. So we need to train our core at least twice a week, minimum. Then we need to look at volume. So just like any other muscle, we are looking at about 10 sets per week. So the next thing we have to look at is volume. So to train a muscle group for hypertrophy muscle building, you need to be doing at least 10 sets per muscle group. So for your abs, that can easily be split across those 2 days, or if you wanted to split it up between 3 days, that is also okay. Then you need exercise selection. So when it comes to training abs, you want to be doing it in that hypertrophy range, so 8 to 12. So therefore, you need to be picking exercises that you can get close to muscular failure in that rep range. So 2 really good exercises that you can pair together that is going to get every muscle in your core is a weighted cable crunch and a Roman chair leg raise, because these 2 exercises is that, you can progressive overload them really easily and you don't have to do crazy amount of reps to push them close to failure. They are going to get every single muscle in your core so that you get a really good defined and snatched look. Then of course we have to progressively overload. So this is why, the circuits and Pilates and things like that are not the best for toning up your core, because essentially we have to build muscle. And the best way to build muscle, of course, is progressive overload and training to that close to muscular failure. So unfortunately, you just don't get those things when there is no structure to your workouts. So, if you're doing a cable crunch, you can easily progressively overload that, because like week 1, you're doing 8 reps at, 25 kilos. The next week, you're doing the same amount of reps and you can go up by 1 kilo. You can write it down, you can keep track, and that's how you're going to keep progressively overloading it and keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, and you'll watch your body change as you do that. If you have your nutrition right as well. And then the last thing, I've already kind of touched on it, is just making sure that you're pushing your core muscles close to muscular failure. It's very important that essentially you're giving your abs a reason to change. And in order to make them change is you've got to push them to the place where it's hard. So essentially you've got to be pushing them to a place where what's happening is you're getting micro tears in your ab muscles. And then through your recovery, through proper nutrition, rest, sleep, is where your muscles, and through, of course, adequate protein, is your muscles are then going to rebuild and get stronger. So therefore, you need that new stimulus to break the muscles down again, to continue to get stronger and stronger and stronger. Because as you get stronger and stronger and stronger, that's how it's going to change. So then, of course, we have to pair these training principles with proper nutrition. So, of course, we all know that protein is very important. We need to make sure that we're eating enough, and to work out how much protein you need is just 2 grams times your current body weight, and that's how much protein you need to be eating every single day, spread across your day. Why? Because that is responsible for muscle repair and recovery. And we know if we have more muscle, we're building muscle, we're going to look leaner. If we have more muscle and we're core, we're going to look leaner. So that's why that is really important. Then, of course, we also have to talk about carbs and fats, because my hardworking ladies who are a little bit afraid of carbohydrates, eating carbs is so important to building your core. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because if you're not eating enough carbs, then your training sessions are going to be shit. You're not going to push hard. You're not going to be able to lift heavy. You're not going to be able to progress, because essentially carbohydrates are your body's favorite source of energy. It's fuel. And if you're not eating enough, then you're not going to be able to train hard. And if you're not training hard, you're not going to see the changes that you want in your body composition. It's simple as that. So it's like, it's so crazy that I actually made the mistake of, cutting out carbs, fats, all of the things, because I thought, oh my God, I'm scared of calories. But it's like, not fueling was the reason why my body wasn't changing, like I wasn't building muscle and getting toned. So, of course, we always have to talk about that. And then, of course, with the nutrition part of stuff is, yes, you do need to shift through nutritional phases. Like, yes, you do need to spend time at maintenance. And yes, you do need to get to a low enough body fat percentage to see your abs. Absolutely. There's a lot of truth in that. And that's it. It's like you spend time at maintenance, build muscle, spend time in a deficit, shred some fat. It actually is really freaking simple to change your body composition, and everyone makes it so much harder than it really needs to be. It's like, own your numbers, know what maintenance is for you, know what a deficit is, nail your macros, nail your training, and then literally watch your body transform before your eyes. It's like, it's really actually quite simple, and everyone's making it more complicated than it really needs to be. Okay. Then the last thing that I do absolutely want to talk to is just making sure you're dialing in rest and recovery. Again, like I already said, is like people think more is better when it comes to exercise, especially training your abs. But like I already spoke to, it's like in order for your abs to change, what needs to happen is you need to push them at a good enough intensity to essentially tear them. Then you need to allow them to recover, to grow back and get stronger and build muscle through the recovery piece. And a lot of women are not allowing their bodies to recover properly. And that's why they're running into these plateaus with their body composition, with their training, with so many elements, and then also affecting like just their daily life, like their sleep, their hormones, irritability, things like that, is because they're not actually allowing their body to recover. And it's such a big thing. So if you're not allowing your abs to recover, then again, they're not going to change. So like, you guys, applying these principles, of course, is not only going to help you improve your core, it's also going to improve your overall body composition. And you guys, I have a bit of a secret that I'm telling you guys because you guys are here. You've stayed to the end. I am so grateful for you. I am actually launching something next week, which I'm super excited about. And it's all for my ladies who want to get sculpted, who want to get toned, who want to get, lose the stubborn fat and get absolutely, snatched. Ladies, there is something coming for you. So if you are interested in that, send me a DM on Instagram saying Snatched, and I will give you first dibs on the details of the program. I'm only taking a limited number of women because it is my first time that I'm running this program, and I'm so excited about it. But for that reason, I want to keep it small. I want to keep it intimate. So if you want first dibs on those spots, you want to get snatched, then send me a message on Instagram because I would love to see you there. So you guys, thank you for being here. I appreciate you, of course, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye. The number one challenge that all my clients face before we start working together is a lack of clarity on how much and what to eat to lose weight. Often they are making two huge mistakes, constantly trying to skip meals or eat under 1,600 calories. Secondly, only allowing themselves bad foods like chocolate on the weekend, but end up binging, all to tell themselves they're going to start again on Monday. If you feel like you have tried every diet under the sun and still can't figure out what to eat to achieve your weight loss goals, take my free 2-minute quiz. You can find the link in the show notes down below. And it will help you figure out exactly what you're doing wrong with your nutrition and exercise and exactly what to do to fix it so that you can finally be confident in your body and achieve your weight loss goals.